Assespro Acelera Internacional. Pois é. Adivinha que depois de 25 anos de Security Week eu vou reencontrar dois grandes amigos aqui para falar de cibersegurança. Luiz Cota, que na época ele era da
Surf Control,
Santa Cruz, Califórnia. E meu amigo daí, o cara Ponar, Strong Security, que continua na strong as ever, Strong Security, 21 anos. Eu não podia deixar de fazer um tributo, isso aqui é um reencontro muito legal. Eles foram grandes apoiadores de uma iniciativa que a gente fez lá atrás, no início dos anos 2000, chamada Security Week, que se tornou um dos principais eventos de segurança da informação da época. Então, eu queria agradecer aqui a vinda e dizer que eu estou muito feliz de receber vocês aqui na Assespro, Rio de Janeiro, e que é sempre bom a gente poder reviver, né? Aliás, nostalgia é isso, né? É reviver. Muito bom. Então, tem uma conversa em inglês. Cybersecurity, we'll just talk about, we see this very relevant and important for organizations to think about in the context of cyber. Com Sean Loveland, da Resecurity, but I'm going to show over here the chairman of the AI task force for WISA, and I say that AI now has a Siamese brother, or a sister, if you will, called cybersecurity. Now, I like to put out here something that I've been mentioning in the market that probably in the recent history of technological innovation, it's the first time that you see two major trends feed on each other, meaning that you need more cyber in AI and you need more AI in cyber. What do you think about that, Sean?
Well, it's true. You need AI to help get through the volumes of data that's being generated. But it's also important to consider that the defenders aren't the only ones using AI.
Indeed.
We are in an AI arms race.
Would you say, because before AI, we already knew beforehand that we were always playing catch up, right? Now we're playing catch up on turbocharges.
We're playing catch up in AI speeds.
Interesting. So, what have you seen that in your strong security endeavor with your clients and the people you've been around with? How are they embracing AI in cyber?
I see this in the beginning. They are more worried about the users using AI than use AI internally in their process in security cybersecurity
More process using AI.
They are more wondering to protect the company data instead of using AI by themselves of cybersecurity.
Mm-hmm.
But all the companies is putting in some AI flavor, like a pistache, has AI everywhere. Yeah. Mainly, all the new tools I'm facing with more tied with ChatGPT. They are collecting some information and changing it in human language. It's more than not more technical. This is helping some security operating center to speed up some understanding of what happened in the environment. So it's a kind of interfacing things. But the AI with the machine learning that's collect the data and learning with your infrastructure and doing some kind of behavior analysis, it's not new. It's a thing that IBM is doing for the last 10 years. And so I believe you're going to have sometimes some merge with this word. The human language from the data and also machine learning from the company data build up some real intelligence. I believe we are in a good path.
Why did you select Resecurity to work with?
Wow. Wow. Actually, I have been in the market for cybersecurity for maybe almost 3 decades, right? So what has security does in the market. It's something different that we have here. AI in cybersecurity is new here. People actually, it's my view, the guys that have worked on cybersecurity don't know yet how to use AI in their internal environment. What they're doing right now is they are buying solutions or tools that say that use AI to solve some problem, right? AI is something new in the market, and these guys, most of them that have worked on the security space, it's young guys. So why why with security is because security has something that has no in the market. The main thing is how our team collect data in a I would like to use the legal way. Security don't buy data from actors. Security use AI to index information, and it makes faster to the client receive the information. When we talk about CDI came before some bad things that will happen in the companies, right? AI help us to advise clients, in our case, faster than any other solution. Because if you go to talk about CDI, it's not only about data, because data is there. Most of companies buy data. The CGI companies buy data. It's not that you are, put money in the one that you stole you, right? You take your data. We work on the different. It's the main things. Faster. Should clients know that he will have problem in the near future? The main question is when, because it will happen. As soon they receive the information, to take the actions better for him. That's why he was here.
So, Sean, segueing on what you caught that saying, data, right? So, do you recognize the acronym called DoD?
Community defense or different?
It's no longer just having data, it's having actually verified quality data that will then provide the ability for you to draw insights from whatever that information that data is giving.
Yeah. So it's a combination of data, quality of the data, volume of the data, and completeness of the data, and timeliness of data, if I forgot to say it. So, we bring in data from 35,000 sources a day, 24/7. So when it's posted in the dark web, our systems collect it, structure it, and analyze it and provide insights to our customers. However, it's not just the data. It's also, a lot of times, you need humans to go ask the criminals questions. You need to be able to
Be devil's advocate?
No, but criminals aren't complete in what they post on the dark web. And really good criminals don't post on the dark web. It's in private chat. It's in person-to-person conversations. So sometimes it means, going that extra mile and understanding where the data ends and human intel starts.
So, curiosity. My American upbringing in the business world took me to appreciate that when you're branding yourself, you automatically, in your brand, embed your value proposition, your value prop. All right. Why resecurity?
Well, I guess the main thing is we're here to help our customers understand their business, their network, their employees, their customers, suppliers, as well as the criminals understand them.
I was just listening to statistics yesterday, where about 40% of everything that's taking place right now of ransomware or any type of attack, it's not directed. It's through the value chain. It's by suppliers, by partners. Right? So, and you mentioned right now that the resecurity then is really looking at the whole spectrum and not just specifically the client. So it's the client and his full networks and ecosystem.
Right. Yeah, you're right, because 60% or more of breaches originate from the supply chain. And back to your question about AI is going to allow criminals to move up and down the company's supply chain relatively easily.
So basically, we just put a little analyzer into the caption.
Can you read that?
Yeah. So we'll put some analyzer, meaning that I'm pumping up the fact that I have to now run faster to catch up because the criminals are using AI, right? And so the challenge has become greater, not less.
Yeah, because there's a couple things. One is criminals are using AI to conduct their attacks. Criminals are using AI to move up and down a company's supply chain. Criminals are also attacking AI service providers to collect data. And the bigger problem is, back to AI for defense, is that companies are becoming AI dependent, which is going to hurt them in the long term in cybersecurity. Mainly because the new analysts are bringing in are AI dependent. The analysts that actually know how the systems work and can understand when AI is lying or AI is blind, companies aren't doing enough to retain those employees.
Yeah, you're back to what I've been saying about, in general, the click generation. It doesn't solve your crisis.
Yeah, and AI right now is the next shiny object, and too many people are believing the AI sales pitches that AI will solve your problem. No, AI will solve some of your problems, but it's causing more problems than it's solving.
And so, how does resecurity address that particular issue? Because you're talking about then trying to bring a new human element into the fold.
Well, it's bringing the new human element in. It's being able to understand is what even if a company has a policy, let's say, of not using AI, their employees are still using AI, whether they know it or not. Their suppliers are still using AI. So it's understanding, hey, which one of my employees are working on computers under the control of criminals, and that employee is also using AI and maybe uploading business documents into ChatGPT for analysis unsanctioned.
Because on the human element side, there's always the fact that you can also say that's the weakest link. We just had an episode, CM software, right? So there was a big ransomware. At the end of the day, how they got in, they paid $15,000 to the guy that was running the database. No, here, I'll give you $15,000.
But it's also like the blog we just posted today about KillSec ransoming medical solutions in Brazil. No malware needed. They accidentally left their AWS store open. So the criminals just took off. So sometimes they walk right in through the front doors. Sometimes it's technology. Sometimes if they can't breach a company with technology, they'll put it inside it.
We have a question here that we'd like to make. Did you know why the dog goes into church?
What?
The door was open.
Yeah. The main road. The main road.
So what we're saying is, there are a lot of doors the guy has, and he doesn't know which ones are open.
Yeah. And a lot of it, so if you just look at, let's say, the number of a door being opened is a C used by an employee or a vendor or a user, becoming infected with malware or becoming under the control of criminals. Brazil's got a significant problem. There was over 130,000 PCs in Brazil infected with malware in the last 90 days.
Wow.
And that impacted over, I had to pull the number.
And that information comes from where? Hundreds of thousands.
We got it from the criminals' inventory.
They have imagery. And they know how much costs each machine on the box.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and those 133,000 computers compromised 3.5 million credentials.
So security is able to actually compile and consolidate a amount of untapped data that's not easily accessible.
Right.
And that's strategically relevant to the company.
Right. And we can tap it in timeliness. So what we collect is faster than most intel vendors. It's more complete. We provide our customers all the data that we have that we collected, not a subset, where some intel vendors only provide a subset of the data.
So do clients actually go out there and they do whatever config on what type of data they want to receive? Is that like a tailor-made model, automated queuing model?
Kinda. So like one of our products, Risk, is our risk monitoring platform. And basically what you do is you define the digital footprint of your company.
Okay.
Snippets of your source code, watermarks of your source code, your IP ranges, domains, and such. And we tell you when things happen. But you can also do that same for your suppliers. So you can find the digital footprint of each supplier to look at the likelihood of any one of your suppliers being breached. You can also define the digital footprint of VIPs. So think of it as SOC managed VIP digital protection. Because, like, for an example, if a criminal wants to attack an exec, they don't necessarily attack the executive. They'll attack the administrative assistant, they'll attack the spouse, and they'll attack their children. So you put all that within the digital footprint of the executive, and we let you know if things are being targeted. Is your executive being targeted? Are your suppliers being targeted? Are you being targeted? Are your customers being targeted, abusing your brand?
So, and as a business model, it's more on the SaaS service type model than actually being a software that you plug in or something.
Yeah, for our solution, we put nothing on an endpoint and nothing on the network.
Okay.
So it's a no touch install. So we help our customers. The security products look at your firewall in. We look outside your firewall. What's happening in the criminal infrastructure targeting your infrastructure. So where the CTI is the other side of the security problem.
So you're almost like acting like the criminal because you're tracing all the criminal activity, and then you're able to derive insights that can help companies understand what they need to do to protect themselves.
Yeah. And an example of that is our vulnerability testing. So companies hire us to do perimeter vulnerability scans. Now we have it lightweight built into our tools, but we also offer in-depth penetration testing by our human analysts. We don't use the techniques of white hats to conduct their pen testing. They use the techniques of the criminals to do the pen testing, which there is overlap between the two techniques, but it's not 100%.
So how many criminals do we security have on board?
None. All of our researchers are white hat researchers trained in the dark arts versus reformed black hats.
Yeah. So who would be your closest competition?
It really depends on how you define competition. There are companies out there that sell form data. There's companies that sell compromised accounts or botnet data. There's companies that do brand protection and takedown services. We do all of that under one platform. So it's not separate companies.
Your turnkey model.
Right. And back to what Luis said earlier, is our definition of dark web is different than most intel vendors. Most intel vendors buy their data. We self-source all of our own dark web data. We do license and OSINT, but all the dark web data we bring our own. We have humans to go beyond the data, to go have conversations with criminals based on our
You're social engineering.
Yes, we're social engineering criminals. But on the flip side is our definition of dark web is different. Most vendors, whether they buy data or obtain their own data, they have the same data. And you can quickly analyze this by asking them how do they gain access to the forums, how do they maintain access to the forums and such. And what you quickly find out is their definition of dark web are websites on Tor that have little to no barriers to entry, which is great if you're researching scriptings. The good criminals are in the vetted invitational. It could take a year or 2 years of effort to get into. It could mean meeting the criminals over coffee.
So, how many organizations in Brazil are today active in resecurity?
We have a lot of customers in Latin America. We're just spinning up Brazil.
Brazil, no.
That is a few ones that it's a global clients that have used our platform since.
Without telling the name of the saint, but telling about the miracle. Tell us a little bit more about this particular case. What was the scenario there? Without telling the name of the client, of course, but understanding what is the current prevalent scenarios that we find here. Because you just mentioned about Brazil being, having how many thousand?
133,000, over 133,000.
FTC network, right?
Yeah.
In the last 90 minutes, contaminated with malware.
Well, that's the other part of the story. Is if you look at the number of IPs in Brazil hosting criminal infrastructure, that's around over 100,000. And it's, so there's a lot of different ways to look at it, but, the threats in Brazil are faced by companies all around the world. It's the ransomware, it's protecting critical infrastructure, it's phishing credentials, it is supply chain attacks, and fraud. The techniques may vary a little bit in Brazil. The attacks that Brazil is facing, every company around the world faces.
Maybe we need to go before that. Everyone must understand why these criminals look for your computer. They use your computer for money processing, for many other reasons. Probably there is a chance that your computer have been used for
mining,
right now. And how it works, maybe most of the people don't know.
Well, if the machine is going slow all of a sudden,
Sometimes.
But, you also realize sometimes PCs, when they're effective malware, are sold for generic mining, part of criminal infrastructure. But often criminals will specifically buy a computer because of its access. So just put costs in perspective. So as criminals, if you want to buy compromised usernames and passwords, they run between a penny to $6.50 per thousand. If I want to buy access into a company's network, I go to a marketplace, Assespro brokers, for example, and I want to buy access to an employee's computer to allow me to log in as the employee from the employee's own computer, bypassing MFA security products. Those costs run between $25 and $10,000 per piece.
Wow. What makes the difference between a $25 PC and a $10,000?
If you're a little Mary's flower shop,
okay,
you're the $10.
If I'm an oil company,
yeah. If you're let's say City of Atlanta,
okay,
that's like $35. If you're a large defense contractor, government agency, large software company, that's closer to the $10,000 mark. It's all based on how much value the criminals think they have.
So the criminals now are just selling, access. They create a marketplace to sell access to whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because, I used to be concerned about the capability of an attack. That 10 years ago. Right now, I'm not concerned at all about the capabilities of attackers. I'm concerned about the capability of the attacker supply chain. Because it has turned to cybercrime as a service. And criminals conducting attack move from technique 1 to technique 2 using cybercrime as a service, relatively free and relatively no effort.
Yeah, so I've been involved with security information for quite some time. That's how I know these guys. And the last 4 years, I've been taking CISOs to Silicon Valley, participate RSA conference. And it's amazing to see how many of these professionals first get very impacted by what they live and experience in the States. But also, when they come back and try to correlate what they learned and absorbed in there, they find themselves at kind of at a little bit of a loss because they see a cultural posture, a cultural attitude different than we have in the States and you have here in Brazil. Have you already been exposed to those differences?
Very much so.
Yeah. And what would you highlight as pop?
The biggest one that I see that impacts, sets North America and Western Europe from probably the rest of the world, is their overconfidence of security and security products in the U.S. In that, they believe they can I can solve the cybersecurity problem by getting a better AV, getting a better firewall, not understanding why we're being targeted, where we're being targeted, and when we're being targeted. Because technology focuses too much on the how, not the who and the why. And the how is transient privilege. So they can move from how 1 to how 2 relatively. So a lot of it is understanding what's going on outside their firewall. Why are people targeting me? What's valuable to the criminal versus what's valuable to me? Because too often we put too many defenses on what's valuable to the company, not valuable to the criminal.
Well, it's almost like treat the criminal as a client, right? My persona is my ICP.
Well, think of it this way, is companies do competitive intelligence on their competitors.
Why not on the criminals?
Why not on the criminals are a competitive predator?
Yeah, it's a predator.
Yes.
We'll make an acronym, a little contraction there.
Yeah.
Predator. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, so again, I like to learn security engages in different markets. So you said Latin America already and Brazil now. So do you know that Brazil is a larger market than all the other ones found in South America, right? But it's the thing that, there's no such thing as having a one single South American operation for any multinational.
Right.
So you have Portuguese speaking and you have stuff. And even on the fact that you have countries that speak the same language, common language does not equate common culture.
Yeah, so even though we're a US-based company, 80% of our customers are outside of North America.
What's your biggest market today?
Middle East, Africa.
And are those also representative of the biggest cyber activity currently?
Yes, but also the maturity model. They're actually more mature in that they need to have CTI to understand what's going on the other side of the firewall. They just can't sit behind their firewall and hoping they can detect the attacks as they come through.
Yeah, if you go back to Zheng Su, right, the fact that you got to understand the total environment, inside and outside,
as well as your competitor or your attacker.
Yeah.
Your adversary. Yep, that's exactly it.
So you can say resecurity acts like an attacker decoy. For acting as a decoy for attackers.
I'm not sure if I put it that way.
Yeah. What I'm trying to say is that it's kind of a decoy for the attacker because you're doing social engineering. And if you're doing social engineering to understand how attackers attack, you're posing as an attack.
Right. Well, we're not creating
You're like a honeycomb or something.
because that is we're enticing the attacker, discourage them from attacking their customers. But our goal is to just help our customers understand what's going on the other side of the firewall, so they can make better protection. Or in some cases, like internal systems and KPIs and auditing, people biased on what their internal systems detect. CTI is a great independent metric, because for CTI, and especially us, is we have no dependency on what your internal systems detect. So if your internal systems say you had 4 PCs infected with malware last quarter, we show there was 400. So your internal systems are missing a lot. Best case is you show those 4 PCs infected with malware. We show those 4 PCs infected with malware, and it's the same 4. We validate your internal metrics are accurate.
Okay. Yeah. So thinking about the current scenario,
Mhm.
and you're actually prospecting a new market. When you walk into an opportunity,
Mhm.
what is the main pain that you're telling your potential client they're solving for it?
Visibility. And we call it offensive.
Offensive intelligence. So the best way to defend is counter.
No. Go and try to find information about the attack before it happens. It is not hacking.
No, I don't understand. It's actually being proactive and understanding the current scenario and not waiting for it to happen.
Mm-hmm. Like we have customers that we've called 3 months in before the breach to tell them they're going to be breached by this group with this intent, using about these tool sets. I mean, even in the small communities and closed groups, they don't fully disclose their techniques. A lot of
So re-security then is, okay, you are secure, but we're going to re-secure you. We're bringing in the outside intelligence you don't have.
Right.
You know when you die, right? We can help you to save your life before something bad happens.
Right.
I'm talking about, of course.
Yeah. If you have a time, like I don't look at it.
Right. Right. And it's important. And either to provide you with more intel or to validate the intel that you have is accurate. So it serves both purposes. But it's it's basically to give you the same visibility the criminals have, and to understand why they're targeting you, who's targeting you, so you can improve your defenses.
So typical potential client for re-security in Brazil would be kind of enterprise organizations.
Yeah, globally, half our customers are commercial, half are government agencies. So some countries use us to monitor critical national infrastructure. A lot of police, law enforcement, military uses for other types of intel. The other half is commercial, and half of that commercial's financial institutions.
Yeah, does re-security also position itself as a tool for mitigating industrial spyware?
Mm-hmm. So they use us for both technical, but they also use us for rogue insider detection and identification. Because to be honest, if a threat actor wants to gain access to your network, sometimes it's easier just to find an insider.
Sure.
And we've seen employees go rogue the day they completed new employee orientation. We've seen where a whole call center buildings had to be taken offline because they couldn't figure out in the building who wasn't rogue. We've seen software developers implanting vulnerability into their own company source code so they can sell the exploits to criminals. Because that's one of the problems that I like to talk about, is that too often people think cybercrime and fraud is a technical problem. And it's not really a technical problem. It's a human and economic problem.
It's human nature turbocharged by technology.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, technology is a tool.
Yeah, it's a vehicle. Indeed. Well, gentlemen, we are about 5 minutes away, and I'd like then to Quanta and Caraponari to leave a last word to our audience. Maybe you want to do that in Portuguese and send a message direct. And our audience will be mainly Portuguese. Well, send us over to recent years.
I will talk about weakness. This will be always present, right? It's something that must you understand. And we know that we will die. We will die. If you know before some bad things happen with your health, you can look for a doctor or adopt a new way to life, have a good food or something like that. When we talk about CDI, I'm just talking about the technology. If you know what's happening in the world on your vertical, which kind of attack vector is happening before it's happened, of course, in a good information before, you will save your life for more time. You have time to take actions to protect yourself. In terms of business, you can save your business. How long some companies can survive without systems internally to send invoice to customers? If you know that you happen, if you know that someone is looking or is in your network looking for something, we never know what they are looking for, of course, but they are always ahead of us. If you know before some bad things happen, you can take actions. It's why CTI become, maybe it's not, you cannot leave the other security tools, but it's why CTI become the same importance of our other tools. You must have. It's not optional.
So CTI is an acronym.
Yeah. But the other thing to think about is CTI and all security products. The goal is to prevent the breach. But one thing CTI is really good at is if you are breached, getting that window of time between breach and victimization.
Okay.
So ideally is to prevent the breach. If you can't prevent the breach, tell you about the breach before you're victimized by the breach.
So at the end of the day, the core of security value proposition is anticipation intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
So you get intel to be able to understand what you need to do to anticipate whatever is going to happen.
But also to prioritize what's going on. How your patch management, how to prioritize that.
Mm-hmm.
And such.
Okay, my last thought about that is that I need to go back a little bit some years ago to understand what happened in terms of cyber. So at the beginning of 90s, 20s, we have some script kids, the guys doing their things against the companies, and it started to grow. Right now we have a real criminals, very organized, with intelligence. And so how are we going to fight against those guys? Build intelligence. How are we going to build intelligence just looking for our company? We need to take a look outside.
Yeah.
And so CGI comes in this area. You need to build up intelligence, but internally in the company, it's impossible. We don't have enough research, talent, and technology to that. And in other words, the company must take a look for their business, And so to have a partnership with a company like Security, you bring on your table a very big intelligence with AI as well. And so that's the reason why Strong Security start to make a partnership with a company like Security. We are seeing in our market with our customer, they need to build up this type of intelligence. Right now, how they are doing that with the WhatsApp groups, And so the bank A with the industry B, all the CISOs create some group and start to exchange information to build up some kind of intelligence. But it's not enough. It's good, but it's not enough.
It's spontaneous. It's not properly designed.
They are seeing a part of Brazil, but a company like Security is looking for an entire world. And so they are bringing up on the table information that start to give to the decision maker to do something and make a real protection. And so we are fighting against a very organized guys, So that's I think the reason why you need to have this type of solution or intelligence.
Well, gentlemen, what I propose is looking at the audience camera, each one of us leaves a strong message to the people who will be listening to us. Sean, you want to take your first crack?
Put me on the spot. The main thing is, even in the age of AI, don't forget the basics. Make sure your PCs are up to date. Make sure they're patched. Make sure you don't do silly things with your computer. But don't forget the basics. Don't start chasing the next shiny object, hoping that it'll solve the basic problems. Because, like we said earlier, often it's not the technology, it's the person sitting behind the keyboard's the problem.
Indeed. Well, Mr. Kota.
So I think the main message is not to be only smart, not trust only in the solution. Be intelligent and use what does AI mean? Use the intelligence beside you to protect yourself. It's the main things. And in the security space, people will not solve the problem without intelligence. And most of the time, we don't have person, we don't have human resource to solve the problem. It's probably in the security space the main issue today, right? But if you use a good intelligence, use AI in a good way, you'll be more protected than do yourself in the old way to do that. Must to change anything. Use the solution that show you how the criminals thinking. It's important. Not think as you think to protect yourself. You know how the criminals use you. It's the main idea of the CTI, the good CTI do. It's in terms of business. So very good. Now you come on.
My last message is the one that I have been saying for a long time. Stop talking about technology. Start to talk about risk. And if you put on the table a simple formula for risk is risky equal vulnerability multiplied by threat. Discover your vulnerability and solve it. And discover also where and how is your threat. And to have this threat, you need to have intelligence and to discover if you have some new threat looking for your business. And so with this language, you're going to have your budget.
That's it. Straight to the point. Straight to the point. Well, we had here the pleasure of hosting Sean Loveland, Yuka Onani, and Reese Crockett on this cybersecurity conversation. I want to thank you all of you, your presence and time. And for our audience, do check on what eSecurity brings to the table because they're bringing a new approach, which is a very intelligent approach to have if you want to be able to anticipate something that might happen. And guess what? Everyone today is part of the digital world. So everyone is bound to happen at one time. So thank you very much. See you soon.